Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Tuesday, November 28th. If you are joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how this video will be structured for today. We'll go over a recap of yesterday's picks, see how they ultimately ended up turning out. We'll go over to RotoWire and take a look at the injuries in play for tonight's slate. It is an 8-game main slate overall. None of these teams are on back-to-back since it is part of the in-season tournament play. And then after that, we'll get over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks for both sites. It will be one player at each position, so point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center on both sites. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker today than I typically do. Got a lot of things going on today, but wanted to get this video out as quick and early as possible. But on the DraftKings side, we had Dyson Daniels at point guard, $5,700. Looking for 28 points, got to 11.25, so he was a mess, only played 24 minutes. He was 1 for 6. Shooting from the field, looks like he was in a little bit of foul trouble as well, so kind of unfortunate there. This probably should have been Reggie Jackson, point guard on both sites, and he absolutely killed it yesterday, so hopefully you guys had some exposure to him overall. Then at shooting guard, we had Jaden Ivey at $5,400. Looking for 27 got to 37.75, so he was a really good hit. Next two guys were Lakers and Max Christie at $3,900. LeBron James at $9,700. Christie were looking for about 19 points, got to 12.75. He was a miss, played 26 minutes, and that game was a blowout. And then for LeBron, $9,700. Looking for 49 points, got 29.5. He was also missed. Played 30 minutes and was a blowout as well. So just kind of unfortunate for that Lakers team yesterday overall. And then at the center spot on the DraftKings side, we went with DeAndre Jordan at $3,200. Looking for 16 points out. He got to 51.25. So pretty much a guy that you needed in your lineup on the DraftKings side yesterday. A little bit of hit or miss day there. On the FanDuel side, though, James Harden, $7,600, looking for 38 points out. Only got to 19.4. Really poor performance for him and this Clippers team overall yesterday versus a Nuggets team that was essentially just playing their backups at that point in time. So this probably should have been Reggie Jackson in retrospect. Still got a lot of exposure to Reggie Jackson and Cade Cunningham, who both paid off as well. And then we had Jaden Ivey once again, $5,200, looking for 26 points out. Got to 36.9, so he was a hit once again. At shooting guard, we went with Buddy Hield at $5,300. He's been in that starting lineup, playing pretty decent as of late. Was looking for 27 points. Only got to 18.7. He was a mess. Only played 24 minutes in this game. 3 for 10 shooting from the field and 1 for 6 from 3. So really didn't play too much towards the end of the game. Didn't close that game, which was kind of the one hesitation we had with him. And unfortunately, that ended up happening. Then at power forward, we had Taurean Prince at $4,400, looking for 22 points out. Got to 16.3. He was a miss. Played 29 minutes in that blowout loss for the Lakers, so just kind of unfortunate there. And then I said pick your favorite of the three centers that I do have listed here between Joel Embiid, Walker Kessler, and DeAndre Jordan. All three ultimately ended up paying off yesterday. Joel Embiid got 62.7 points at $22,200, so he was a hit. DeAndre Jordan got 51.1 at $3,500, and Walker Kessler got 34.1 at $5,700. So couldn't really go wrong there. So once again, a little bit of hit or miss day on both sides. Hopefully you guys got some good exposure to Reggie Jackson, Walker Kessler. Hopefully you got to a little bit of Jeremy Grant and Kyle Kuzma yesterday as well, because those were kind of differentiation pieces on the slate overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over into the injuries and play for tonight's slate. So once again, it is an 8-game main slate. We got a bunch of games starting at 7:30 Eastern time tonight, but we're going to start off with the Chicago Bulls. Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, both listed as questionable. Caruso did miss the most recent game. I believe LaVine did ultimately end up playing in that game, so we'll see if they play tonight or not. For the Boston Celtics, they are without Kristaps Porzingis once again. Drew Holiday listed as questionable with his ankle injury. Was able to go through some workouts yesterday, so we'll see if he's back tonight or not. And then Derek White, probable to play after dealing with an illness. For the Atlanta Hawks, Bufkin and Gaia both out once again. Jalen Johnson's dealing with a wrist fracture, so he's going to be out for, at least a couple weeks at the bare minimum. So Sadiq Bey is going to see a bump up probably in that starting lineup. And then a couple other guys will see some bump up, whether it's DeAndre Hunter solidifying his minutes or Bogdan Bogdanovic off the bench. A lot of different guys that you can get to on this Atlanta team if you really want to. And then on the Cleveland side, Ty Jerome, Ricky Rubio, Dean Wade all out once again, so no real changes there. For the Milwaukee Bucks, we got Jay Crowder out once again. Then Chris Middleton listed as questionable. He's dealing with some Achilles soreness. He left their most recent game. I kind of expect him not to play tonight. So should be either Andre Jackson, Marchand Beauchamp, or Pat Connaughton in that starting lineup. They all should get increased minutes at that as well. For the Miami Heat, RJ Hampton, Tyler Hero both out once again, so no real changes on that end. We got Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, both listed as probable to play tonight, and then Jimmy Butler and Haywood Highsmith listed as questionable. This is a Miami Heat team that could have a lot of value open up throughout the day, just depending on how this injury news shifts. So definitely be sure you're checking up on the comments as the day moves along. Then we move down to the Toronto Raptors. Just Christian Koloko out once again, so they're essentially all the way healthy at this point in time. For the Brooklyn Nets side, Ben Simmons is out once again. Cam Thomas doubtful to play with that ankle injury. Dennis Smith Jr. is up to questionable at this point in time. We'll see if he's back tonight or not. Not anybody that we want to play for DFS purposes, though. And then we got Nick Claxton listed as questionable to play. He's dealing, I believe, with an ankle injury. He missed their most recent game. We'll see whether or not he plays tonight or not. But if he misses once again, it's a bump up for guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Day'Ron Sharpe, and maybe even Trendon Watford. And then we have Cam Johnson probable to play. He was just dealing with some leg cramps, so he should be good to go for tonight's slate overall. Then we move over to Charlotte Hornets, who are without Cody Martin, Frank Ntilikina, and Nick Richards once again. LaMelo Ball listed as doubtful due to his ankle injury, so most likely that we see Terry Rozier shift over to that point guard spot and Brandon Miller rejoin the starting lineup. And then we have James Bouknight also listed as probable to play for tonight's game. New York Knicks are all the way healthy at this point in time. Then we move down to Oklahoma City Thunder, who are also all the way healthy at this point in time. They do get Jalen Williams, the forward, back tonight, or the guard forward, however you want to call him. Then on the Timberwolves side, Clark, McDaniels, and McLaughlin all out once again. So pretty much what we've seen out of them in recent games. For the Houston Rockets, Victor Oladipo and Ben Thompson both remain out. And then they have four guys listed as probable in Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, Jayshawn Tate, and Fred VanVleet. So I would assume that all four ultimately end up playing tonight. And then for the Mavericks, we got Maxi Kleber out once again. And then Derek Lively listed as questionable to play. He's been dealing with a back injury. We'll see whether or not he's good to go tonight or not. Typically, I'm a guy that avoids people coming off illnesses and back injuries, especially if they're questionable headed into that day. So won't be anybody that ultimately ends up in my lineups overall. And then we move over to the Golden State Warriors, who are all the way healthy at this point in time. They do get Draymond Green back after his 5-game suspension tonight, so we'll see what he's able to do overall. And then on the Kings side, they do have Alex Len listed out once again. Keon Ellis listed as questionable, and Keegan Murray is technically listed as doubtful, according to the news, but he just has that gray bar, which typically means questionable, but we'll see whether or not he plays tonight or not. He's been dealing with a back injury and missed the most recent games for this Kings team overall. So quite a few injuries that we'll be watching throughout the day, but definitely be sure to check up down on the comments throughout the day, as I will be posting all the injury updates throughout the day on there, as well as the starting lineups throughout the night. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today's slate overall. So we are going to start off at the point guard position with Darius Garland. He's $7,200. You're looking for 36 fantasy points out of him. He's averaging just over 33 on the season. He's been dealing with some injuries throughout the season, though, as well. He started off with that hamstring injury, dealt with a little bit of a neck strain here and there as well. Going against the Atlanta Hawks, it's a very favorable matchup. Point guards in general typically do very well against the Hawks, so I do like Darius Garland tonight. Currently have him projected for 38 points, but definitely does have some upside for more as well. Then we move down to shooting guard with Terry Rozier taking over that point guard spot for LaMelo Ball tonight, since he's going to be out with an injury. $7,400. They're looking for 37 points out of him. Essentially is what he's been averaging so far on the season. This should be a high-paced back-and-forth game, hopefully back-and-forth game for the Charlotte Hornets side at least. But Terry Rozier currently have him projected for 38 fantasy points tonight. Definitely does have some upside for more, especially if he's knocking down that three ball once again. If you're out there in the betting streets, I believe his over three-pointer made is at 2.5, which doesn't look too bad with no LaMelo Ball out there tonight. Then we're going to go down to his teammate at small forward in Brandon Miller at $5,600. Looking for 28 fantasy points out of him today. Not a lot of guys that stand out as small forward for me in terms of values, at least early on for today. So went with Brandon Miller, projected for 29 fantasy points tonight. Then we move down to power forward with Jaime Jaquez for the Miami Heat. He's at $5,400. He's had very good performances as of late. I believe over 29 points his last 4 games. Jimmy Butler's questionable. Haywood Highsmith's questionable. A couple of these guys are banked coming off of injuries too. So as long as he's getting the minutes, he's going to look like a pretty decent play overall. Could be a pick that ultimately does end up changing throughout the day though. So definitely do like the upside that he does present overall. Currently have him projected for 29 fantasy points tonight. And then last but not least, at the center position, we're going to go with Jared Allen. He is $6,400. He's back to playing bigger minutes. He's played really well as of late. Looking for 32 fantasy points out. Currently, I'm projected for 33 tonight. Definitely has some strong upside for more as well. It's a little bit of a tougher matchup going against like Clint Capella, but, is Capella going to be on him? Is he going to be on Evan Mobley? Whoever gets Sadiq Bey is probably going to end up being a little bit better, but I do like the price tag on Jared Allen. I like the upside overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here at this point in time, you'll have $18,000 remaining, $6,000 per player, which looks like a balanced build type of day. Obviously, injury news is going to affect a lot as the day moves along. So definitely make sure that you're checking up on that, as well as the updated core that will come out about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock as a pinned comment. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So on FanDuel, we're going to start off at the point guard position with Jalen Brunson, $8,200, looking for 41 fantasy points out, averaging about 38 so far in the season. He's playing extremely well as of late, though. So his price tag probably could be up to like $8,800 at this point in time. It's a favorable matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. So I definitely do like him once again tonight. Currently, I'm projected for 43 fantasy points overall. As long as this game stays competitive, he's going to look like a great play. A good guy to bet in if you're doing some prop bets as well. I was kind of looking at a few of them there. His over-under on those points is 25.5. I don't mind it, even though he's only hit 6 out of the 16 games he's played this year. If you want to tease it down to at least 24 points, looks even better as he's hit that 11 out of 16 times so far on the season. Then we move down to shooting guard with Klay Thompson. He's only $5,500, still a very reasonable price tag at this point in time. Favorable matchup against the Sacramento Kings tonight. Should be a very back-and-forth game, higher-paced game at that as well. Since the Kings aren't the greatest defensive team in the world, both these teams like to play at a little bit quicker pace as well. Definitely do like Klay Thompson tonight. You're looking for 27, 28 fantasy points out of him. He's playing better as of late. Currently, I'm projected for 29 points tonight. And then we move down to small forward. You can also play him at power forward as Dorian Finney-Smith. $4,600, looking for 23 fantasy points out of him tonight, averaging just under 22 so far on the season. I think there's a good chance that Nick Claxton ends up missing once again. It's a good matchup overall for Dorian Finney-Smith, one that he matches up pretty well against. So do like him tonight. I currently have him projected for 24 points. Might have a little bit of upside for more. However, he could ultimately be a guy that ends up getting swapped off for better value later on the day. But at least early on, he doesn't look like a bad play at this point in time. Then at power forward, we can go to Julius Randle at $8,200. Typically, I don't like playing Brunson and Randle in the same lineup, but going against the Charlotte Hornets, good pace-up spot, good fantasy matchup overall. You know, if you're playing both of them, you might want to slide in like a Terry Rozier or somebody from the Hornets side because you're thinking this game's going to be pretty competitive overall, unless, you know, the Knicks just blow them out and it's all Randle and Brunson, at least early on in the games. But do like Julius Randle tonight. Currently, I'm projected for 42 fantasy points. Definitely has a little bit of upside for more against the Charlotte Hornets team overall. And then last but not least, we have Alperen Sengun for the Houston Rockets, $8,400. Looking for 42 fantasy points out, essentially what he's been averaging so far in the season. He goes against the Dallas Mavericks tonight. It is a matchup that has been great for centers overall. So definitely do like the upside that Sengun offers. Currently having projected for 43 points, but definitely has a ton of upside for more as we've seen in recent games. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $25,100 remaining, just under $6,300 per player. So looking a little bit more like a balanced build type of day. Obviously, we could have some other values come out as the day moves along. So definitely kind of feel free to mix and match some of those. And then once again, my updated core will be left as a pinned comment about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock if there are any changes at that point in time. But with that being said, these are the core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, November 28th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more DraftKings or FanDuel specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups throughout the night. Once again, I will leave a pinned comment with my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock if there's any changes at that point in time. If there's no changes, I'll simply leave a comment that just says there's no changes at this point in time. If there's any other additional changes after that point, we'll leave them as a reply to that pinned comment as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got NBA DFS Monday through Friday in terms of the core pick videos, and then once a week for the NFL DFS player pool video, typically coming out on Saturday mornings, sometimes Saturday afternoons. So definitely be sure to check that out, as well as my cheat sheets for NFL DFS over on the sports affiliation website for both FanDuel and DraftKings. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user on any of those 3 sites, when you make your initial deposit, you will receive a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's up to $100. For BetUS, it's 125% of your initial deposit. I think it caps off at like $2,500 if you're putting in that much at that point in time. If you guys have any other additional questions related to that, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.